Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the Rory James podcast. I'm James,
And I'm Rory.
and we've got a new episode today, which we're going to do a little bit more of improvising of, like we've done in previous episodes.
Mm-hmm.
And this one, we're specifically talking about theatre, or the general theme of theatre.
Yeah.
So, Rory, I don't know if you want to kick us off because it was your idea for this. So, I was wondering, sort of, if you wanted to introduce theatre, why you picked it, any initial thoughts on it?
Well, I know our last one was about our own sort of stuff, wasn't it? Our own experiences in theatre. So I just thought we have a more general discussion, really. I was looking into the history of theatre, and it began as a form of mime artistry and ritual and mimicry in the early days, and it has a long history. But I couldn't put any one thought into place progressively as to how it worked as a documentary, because there's just so many bits and bobs to think about. So I thought it might be better to talk about our own experiences and how those relate to theatre in general. And you were talking to me about our trip with Polka Theatre. Was that at Christmas?
Yeah, so we had
Yeah.
our own trip to the theatre. Yeah, that's right, just before Christmas 2024. And that was at the National Theatre, so probably one of the biggest venues in England for theatre.
Yeah.
Did you have a view about it? Did you what was your sort of takeaway from being in the theatre in that sense?
Oh, well, it was the ballet, wasn't it? I find in general that musicals for me are quite difficult to follow, but I do enjoy them. And we've been talking about dance and coordination and theatre before. What are your memories of that evening with Polka?
Yeah, well, I remember that I didn't know anything about it apart from that the title of the play was called Ballet Shoes. So, like you, I thought it was a ballet, but actually we got there and it was a sort of standard play, wasn't it? But I thought it was phenomenal. The quality of the acting and the way they created the stage, to make it look like different venues and different moments. I thought it was absolutely incredible. And I haven't actually been to the theatre in ages, so to see a play. So it sort of made me want to, go back and see some more. Really,
Yeah.
how did you find the experience or the play itself?
I really enjoyed it. I mean, as I mentioned before, I volunteer at Polka, so it was really good to do an external thing with them, and it's one of these things that you're so drawn into as a performance, and it feels real. I've read books where I've really related to the characters and the stories, and it's very difficult to think that it's going to be all over once you've read it or once you've seen the show, and that's the advantage of tape recording and video recording and photographs, that you can relive something that you've experienced. And we recently went to see Joe Stilgo, didn't we? So that was at Wilton's Club, wasn't it?
Yes, and that was sort of a theatre type venue as well. But that being for a music concert, yeah. But so I should have mentioned at the top that so you obviously volunteer for Polka Theatre in Wimbledon.
Yeah.
So the ballet shoes event was a sort of Christmas party of theirs, wasn't it?
Yes, it was, wasn't it? So I remember we were all there, and you were principal photographer, weren't you, that night?
Yes, I was taking lots of photos of staff. Yeah.
Yes,
so I had
cool.
some used to be there. Yeah.
It's great to have you there. And I remember travelling back on the bus. It's all part of the same experience, really.
Yeah, all fun and games. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But yes, I had to say overall that my experience being there was that it was absolutely brilliant. And I forget how good English theatre is, and I think it's a lot of American actors will come over here. If I'm not mistaken, I'm sure I'll be fact checked by listeners if I'm wrong. But I think there's such a scene in England, or particularly London, for acting. I think a lot of people, like Americans, come over here to sort of tune their craft in the sort of English theatre scene. So yeah, it's just something we sort of take it for granted how good the quality of acting is around here.
Yeah, I was watching a thing on Cameron McIntosh, the theatre pioneer, and he gets involved in sort of doing sets, the lighting, the acting, the scripts, the musicals. What's your view of musicals in general? Do you have much experience with that?
Yeah, well, they were the things I used to always watch, particularly when I was a kid. So that was I was probably going to the theatre to watch musicals much more than I was theatre. Was that the same for you? Or
I suppose so. Not as much because I found the believability of the musical was quite difficult, or to follow it as a story was difficult. I suppose there are things like Cats. For example, Rice, my cat. I decided on her name whilst watching Cats, a rerun of Cats during the pandemic era. You know that side. But the more I've got into theatre, the more I've appreciated that, and the more I've enjoyed seeing musicals. But I remember listening to the albums of that. I remember listening to Magical Mr. Mistopheles, but as an album track, for example. But I have seen Phantom of the Opera and things. But again, I think I need audio description and things like that to follow. And I always remember this is how music comes into real life. A friend of mine was trying to get some flora out of the fridge one day. This is at Orpheus, and I was with my friends, and I started singing "All You Need Is Love," but it became "All You Need Is Flora, la 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 la." All you need is flora, and it was one of the spontaneous moments where it just comes into real life, theatrics and stuff. Uh, uh, when I see comedians on TV, though, we're talking about Hugh Dennis and things like that from Mock the Week. It's very interesting to see how they do their performances and analyze their own material and things like that, and to see the serious side of comedy, as in how that's created effectively. What are your favourite comedy memories?
Well, my absolute favourite comedy memory is going to Edinburgh Fringe Festival once and seeing Tim Vine, who's sort of a one-liner type comedian.
Mm.
And he was absolutely, well, it was one of my favourite gigs I'd ever been to.
Yeah.
And that's stuck in the memory long into the future because I just thought he was absolutely hilarious. And yeah, you say this stagecraft, unbelievable. The way remembered everything and all these sort of jokes all linked together, and that it was just absolutely genius.
His idea is basically that the faster the joke, the faster the route to the laugh, and if you don't get the first joke, you'll get the second one. If you don't get the third one, you get the fifth one, and so on. It's that quick fire thing. He told 499 jokes in 1 hour.
Incredible, absolutely incredible. Yeah. And then you, obviously, we've sort of talked past it really, but you obviously went to a performing arts college in Orpheus.
Yes.
The Orpheus Centre. So you obviously came across all different types of performing arts. So was theatre or that kind of more traditional acting part of what you did, and did you enjoy it if you did?
I guess so, because that would encompass a lot of things: some music, some dance, some interaction, and so on. If you were doing, for example, we did percussion courses, dance courses, music technology courses, and theatre collectively was all of those together. So that was really fantastic. Even when we do the shows today in one night, like a concert, everything comes together in that way. It was interesting because when we saw the Joe Stilgo concert, I don't know how you felt, but I felt that it was. I think I told you at the time it was as much to do with listening to it as it was to watch it, and I think that was interesting because if to hear it as a live album as much as a performance would have been fantastic. What was your favourite moment of that Joe Stilgo night?
Yeah, well, I think similar to what you said, I just loved that it was more than just it wasn't just a gig. He was almost telling a story through the music. So it was all about being in a jazz club, and you go in and people do jam sessions, and then there's that person at the bar who thinks they're really popular, and there's that person there who's very quiet and sits at the back and looking mysterious. And it was this whole story being told about being in a jazz bar all through the music. I thought it was absolutely genius, that.
Oh yes,
and
yes.
Extra layer of entertainment from designing the concert in that way.
Yeah. And what was interesting was that Joe had the team on stage, but the set was pretty basic. But he didn't need that. His communication skills and the strength of the performance stood on its own, didn't it?
Oh, I mean, his charisma on stage, born to be on stage, you could tell for that straight away. The charisma was unbelievable. So entertaining.
Yeah.
Very funny. Just all round really fantastic stagecraft. I guess this in the musical context, but similar to what we've been talking about with comedians and actors and so forth. That it's that stagecraft, isn't it, of capturing the audience when you're on stage.
Yeah, and making something that you've prepared beforehand seem spontaneous.
Yes.
is incredible as well with a lot of these people. How they do it, I have no idea, but they're really, really talented and very, very wise to do what they do in the way that they do it. And to sit there when I go to Polka and I review performances, to sit there and see these people do these things, or even if you're not on stage, to see how they do it is incredible. And things. So, would you do you have a standout memory from a performance you've seen on, say, TV or something like that that's stuck in your mind?
Oh God, far too much to pick from there. There's just been so many good. But in terms of theatre, I have to say, recently I had to go back to that Ballet Shoes show that we watched with Chris. I just thought it was so good. The quality was so high, and that probably stands out for me. And what about you?
Oh well, I would say I thought the Ballet Shoes was really good, and I think we should go there again next year. You can join me on our next big outing. But to be at Joe Stilgo's show as we've just done, and to know that I know him and his family, and to be there and to just experience that with you is fantastic. So next time we do a podcast, folks, I will ask James in advance as to his best theatre memories, and we can explore those next time.
Sounds good. Well, that's a reason to stay tuned, isn't it?
It certainly is. Hope you've enjoyed today's episode, and thank you again. Bye.
Bye.